What's up, everyone? Behind you, you see the first of two Apaches that we've been working on for a very long time. This is probably one of the most special builds we've ever done. We were privileged enough to be selected to do the build, but then also it was quite exciting because the customer who owns the vehicle is an architect, and he's very particular, as we are, especially as I am, and it was very interesting to see how he likes to bring in the elements and the colors and different things, and it was exciting to work with him to bring in all those little details and stuff. So it's been a really cool build, and I think the outcome is more than exceptional. It's also a little bit more old school with the old school wheels and the color and that sort of stuff than we normally do with our big wheels and drop suspension and all of that. Obviously this truck does have a fully customized notch chassis. When we first got the truck, the customer had a custom chassis built. I think the truck probably stood about this high, even though he'd given the builder a brief on how he wanted the truck. So pretty much we started from scratch, and we had to cut the chassis, notched it, QA1 coilovers as we always go to. It's Jaguar suspension, so we modified all of that to suit to get the truck to sit low. We actually had it sitting a lot lower than this, but it's going to be a bit impossible to get over speed bumps and stuff like that, hence why we've got it at this ride height now. When we first started with the build, the customer had actually done a huge amount of buying and stuff of parts himself. He imported an engine from a company called Engine Factory, a 383 stroker motor. It's actually the strongest 383 we've had on the dyno yet, making, I think it was just on 230 kilowatt on the wheels. It's quite alive. It's a lot of fun to drive, although we're still busy testing it and putting mileage on it. It's got really nice headers on. It's got an EFI system on it. So really nice motor and lots of really nice parts throughout the truck. He really didn't spare any expense on what he's put into the truck. So the interior on this truck actually came out really amazing. I was a little bit unsure of the color the customer chose first for the interior, sort of this faded leather type color, but now that I see it all brought together with the wooden steering wheel and everything, it really has worked out. This car's got quite a lot of tech in it. It's also got the Dakota Digital gauges with all the sensors and everything that goes with that. It's got the EFI system, which I mentioned. If you look at the dash, I didn't want to do those standard type vents that the aftermarket aircon systems come with that fit underneath the dash. Bought the vents from Vintage Air, and then we actually built them into the dash so that it all looks stock. The control panel for the aircon system obviously also built in, and then we bought this Chevrolet emblem that I really think finishes it all off nicely. And what we ended up with was a dash that looks like something that rolled off the showroom floor as it was built, and that was what I was really going for there. And then obviously everything else, even the roof lining, that was a whole design done by the customer. He had found on the seats he wanted these little ringlets and stuff. Our upholstery guy really pulled it off, even with making the little holes for the seatbelt hooks. And what's actually interesting is we have retractable lap belts on this, so we didn't want the belts lying on the seat and looking unsightly, so you actually have a retractable belt that sits on the side of the seat and is out of the way when not in use. A fuse box and amp and all of that stuff is underneath the seat, as well as behind here we actually have a storage compartment with lighting so that he can put his laptop bag or squash racket or whatever he wants to behind there. The seat actually flips forward. Again, we went for the same very high-end carpet that we've been using in a lot of our vehicles lately. It just brings a different level of finish to the truck. Also Rockford Fosgate sound system, 10-inch woofer, a Rockford amp, coaxials in the front kick panels, and then also driven by all through streaming via Bluetooth module, so no radio or anything like that. Fancy steering column, chrome steering column, all the chrome switches and everything all come from LMC Truck in the US. It also has the click switch, which looks like a normal window winder, but actually click down to wind the window down, click up to wind the window up. Then obviously we wanted to bring in the chrome, so we made these little trims along the edge to finish off the carpet. And then we were unsure about what to do on the steps, so we routed out aluminium strips and spent hours and hours polishing them and brought those into the steps. Something that came to mind for me was I just felt like the truck needed a name. You know, a lot of the guys like Ring Brothers and all of those overseas, when they build these fancy vehicles, they name them. And I sort of sat down and thought about, okay, Apache Indian, that sort of thing. So I Googled Indian chiefs or Apache chiefs, and one of the names that came up was Geronimo. And I thought of it from the perspective of, you know, the client, he had a vision, and he bought what really was at that stage a piece of scrap, and he had a vision, and he sort of went Geronimo and went for it. It was actually his idea, the client's idea. He bought the little number plates around wanting to put it there, but we didn't know what to put in it. So we had that made, and we had it laser etched with the Built by Ace Customs, and he loved it. Even the sides of the seat, we have little cover panels that cover the frame for the seat. So that's not just left open. Again, you know, we try not to, every little detail we try and cover to get to everything. Interestingly enough, this truck and the one you'll see subsequently in another video has what's called a rain gear system. So it's all modern windscreen wiper setups. This truck still has the split windows like it was standard, whereas you'll see subsequently in the next video, the other truck, we did the single window conversion. The fuel tank, well, this is actually the fuel tank which you see. The customer actually had that built before we took over the truck, with his idea of making the spare wheel a sort of a centerpiece, a showpiece for the load bay. And we wanted to include the filler. The filler he had was a bit more subtle, so we actually imported this sort of more butch looking one. You'll see on the truck we bought the orange in all over. All this is hand painted by the team, and on the emblems as well, lots of masking and taping and stuff like that to get that done. And then the customer also came up with the idea of having a spare wheel cover over the spare wheel. He didn't want it just bare. Somehow we came up with the idea of maybe using a motorbike fender, and I went off to, I think it's called the bike hospital, and went and rummaged around there, and one of the guys at the place took me through to the back, and I saw this fender, which didn't look like this when we started. I had the spare wheel with me in the van, and I was like, hold on, that could just fit. And I took it back to the van, and it fitted dead on exactly as it had to onto the wheel. It was like made to be. Another element that's really different on the truck that sort of brings it all together. The wood bed, also imported from overseas as a kit. Something else that's also very interesting on this truck has the rear that opens, but we actually don't latch it. It's actually just got these very strong gas struts which actually holds it into place. So even if you go over a bump, it won't move. On this truck is a little bit different to the other truck you'll see in our next video. This is a straight pipe each side, and it's quite a lot more aggressive. The other truck is a lot more subtle. I like the sound of this truck. I think it suits the truck. On both trucks, but especially this one, there's lots and lots of little details. So I think the focus on this truck, when you guys watch our other video with the second truck, this one's a lot more old school, and old school is definitely cool. You know, it's got the 15-inch wheels with the hubcaps and that sort of stuff. It still rides low. It's got a fancy motor. It's a little weird because it's got more electronics, yet it's more old school, whereas the other one's got less electronics and it's more new school with the big wheels and that sort of stuff. Even things like the mirrors, the customer opted for the stock mirrors and that type of thing. On the other truck, he didn't want any chrome. We actually convinced him eventually though to have some chrome on the interior, which I do think worked really well. But you'll see nowhere else on the truck does it have chrome. On this truck we went for all the original chrome. Everything that was chrome had to be chromed, and it's got that old school look, whereas the other truck is more modern. Really cool to do the two different trucks and see how the two different owners envision the finished product in their truck. And what's also pretty cool is that if you go back on our YouTube channel, you'll find a truck we did called Monster Jam, and that was like a big, almost like a mud truck type 4x4 truck. So we've done quite an array, and we've got a bunch of other trucks in the shop at the moment that we're also busy with. Again, thank you to the customer for the privilege of building such an epic vehicle, or affording us and choosing Ace Customs and the team. And well done to my team and everyone involved in putting it together.